let's have a think about that. So one of the first things that we're really dealing with here with the stretch shortening cycle is, well, the what is it? What are we trying to do with it? How are we going to use this to help us? So the idea is that anytime I load a muscle, so maybe I just jump or bounce, that force that you build up that by dropping, okay, is stored to some degree. Some of it dissipates, some of it is stored within the structures in the body. So the ligaments, the tendons, and the muscular units themselves, okay? And in rebounding out of that, we can kind of piggyback off of the muscle, the energy that we've stored up. And if we do quite a bit of training with this, we can do that more efficiently. So everybody can do it to some degree. So for example, as a simple idea here, if I was going to sidestep and I go here, the fact that I push into my right leg here is letting me rebound and better send my weight over there. And it'll be better than if I just did a little bit of a shuffle off to the side. It'll be more explosive. Never mind the fact that we're also have the body movement with it as well. How we're going to use that with training our kicks is we're going to start working on some depth jumps in particular. And that's generic, so dropping off of something and taking a bounce, and I'll show you those. And then we're going to use the same philosophy to allow us to execute some really simple kicks. It could also be used for a blitz, but using it for some really simple kicks to try to involve that stretch shortening cycle, add some energy, store it up, and very quickly release it, almost like a springboard, the idea of a springboard. We're going to very quickly release it, and it also kind of helps us in the idea of overspeed training. So we're really trying to build that rebound and make the muscle contractions faster, develop our force faster and earlier in the movement so that we have more time to, I suppose, accelerate and finish the movement. Very short and rough explanation. But let's start with a small block here. So this could be built all the way up to a plyometric box, you know, quite a big box. But this is enough to illustrate the principle. So what I'm going to do is step off the box. The second my feet hit the floor, I'm going to do a tuck jump. And so the goal each time, rest fully in between. So I'm not looking to do fast sets, but I want to be a rubber ball when I hit the floor, okay? So when I touch, I want to bounce off that floor, okay? If you're on a hard surface, wear training shoes, and I mean like proper trainers with a bit of absorption. I'm on mats here, so it's not too bad, but we do need to have a little bit of cushioning. It will really help. Okay, so each time I'm going to do just two more. Focus on bouncing, that feeling of rubber ball springiness, okay? It'll also help you to organize your body, because if you land in a bad position, I'll try and do one where my chest is forward. It will very quickly teach you that you're in a bad position, because all that force will apply itself through basically like a loose wobbly system. We want to have tension in the right places so that we can use that force efficiently. Now I'm going to use the exact same idea here, and we can lend that to getting us into some kicks, okay? So if you don't have one of these, you don't have to use it. We can have, for example, the exact same idea. Let's say I do a front kick, okay? I can have a jump, and then I can add the front kick. So I'm trying to use the acceleration from the landing to drive the kick. I'm going to illustrate this with turning kick first, okay? So I'll be kicking over onto this side. I'm looking for a little bit of a drop and away. So each time I hit the floor, I'm going to just try and accelerate directly into the target. And I also want to focus on the pull away at the end. So don't kick through the target. Look to kick and get to the floor so that you're not putting the brakes on anywhere in the movement, okay? So very importantly, if I kick the air, I have to be a little careful, slow the movement down at the end to protect my knee. When I'm hitting a target, even if it's a light one like a flipper, I can kick through, and by not putting the brakes on, it allows me to go a little bit faster, okay? And that's something that we want to use. Again, in terms of your training of these, you can do them in sets of maybe 6 to 12, as long as you have a nice recovery in between each one. And then you rest after a set until you feel fresh again, okay? And that's weird for us in Taekwondo. We don't do that very often. But when you're training pure speed, we need to be refreshed. We need to have the energy back in the system so that we can go and be explosive. Once again. And we just want to be fast. So taking this away, I can do a similar kind of idea using our lateral hops, okay, those heightened hops that we had earlier. So I'm starting here, fix Bob. I'm starting here with my weight on my left leg. I'm going to be transitioning over onto my right leg and very quickly kicking with my right leg as well. So from here and back down. So the exact same thing here. I have my weight on my right. I'm going to go to the left and away. Once again. And once again. And all we're looking to do by transitioning it onto one leg is I'm doubling the amount of force I'm putting into that leg, loosely speaking, okay? So because I'm not landing on the 2 feet together, I'm putting all of my body weight plus that acceleration due to gravity into the one leg. And then I have to overcome that resistance and go. I'm benefiting from the stretch shortening cycle. I can be kind of explosive when I do that. So one other little thing that we can do is look to drop into a stance and then go. So like we did off of this, but we can set it up with a few different kind of footwork steps. So we make this very Taekwondo specific. So for example, if I start here and I just jump changing legs, I have the same kind of movement because I'm loading with this jump. Now it's an exaggerated jump, but I'm loading the muscles with the jump and then explosively firing. So from here and away. The same thing could happen with, for example, a back kick or something like that, but I can do it with forward to backward loading as well. So I can go from here and make sure I'm quite quick coming away. So I have my jump or my shift, and what that's allowing me to do is to load in one direction and unload in the other direction by going forwards and backwards. So we've had kind of side to side, directly up and down, forwards to backwards, and we can use all of those and make them very, very specific to our Taekwondo to help us with loading the right way so that we can benefit from that stretch shortening cycle. So the kicks that this kind of lends itself to would be likes of the turning kick. Downward kick in particular can be quite nice. So where we use the drop and lift. So we had, for example, over the last couple of days, the turning kick and into the downward kick where we can use that drop and lift as well. But it doesn't work very, very well for side kick. It's overcoming the resistance from the beginning of the movement is nicer with the side kick. And it's simply because of the way the kick carries, okay? The end point is in the air. So it's a little bit more difficult to have one here. So we can still use it, but I prefer for those kind of jump and drop type of exercises to use the turning kick, the downward kick, the back kick, front kick even. But for the side kick, I quite like the exercises where there's a little bit of band resistance, or where you're using the exercises where you're coming up from the knee or overcoming your resistance on a standing leg, going to half squat and push. And they really help to develop the kind of movement we need in the side kick.